All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. It's time to get this Yamaha TTR110 converted to a big wheel, so follow along. So right here we've got our billet triple clamp. We're going to go ahead and install our steering stop bolts. And guys, I'm going to give you tips through this video on how we put this bike together. So just if you bought one of our kits, just pay attention. I've got a couple of tips and tricks in this video that are going to help you put your bike together. Now you're going to put your front end back together just like OEM, and in this video we reuse the OEM steering stem and the steering bearings. So first step, get your lock nuts back on there. You guys are going to see I'm actually checking the tension. I like to get that grease compressed on the bearing and make sure the stem isn't loose. Now the next step is putting your locking nut on the top, and there is a nice little keeper plate that comes in this Yamaha. It actually kind of locks those two nuts together so they can't loosen up. And just keep going, get that top clamp on. Now the fun part, we do have to drill the forks out. And the reason we do this, the stock bolt is just not going to work, so we actually bring it up to the same size as the CRF110. We're using a similar front axle from our CRF110 kit. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly drill this bad boy out. I'm going to check fitment, everything looks good. We have instructions that come with the kit. It gives you the drill bit size and everything. And of course, I got chips everywhere, so I'm just gonna clean my mess up real quick. And more or less, just start sliding that front end back together. Again, it's basically the reverse of your OEM setup. You're just running our wider components on there. Now, I like to start by tightening the lower clamp. And after that's done, you're gonna tighten your stem nut. And the reason for that is it's actually going to pull the top clamp down. And then after that is tight, you're going to move on to the top pinch bolts on your triple clamp. You guys can feel free to torque these to your factory specs. In this video, I'm just doing it as quick as I can. And you guys are going to notice we have the big bike style handlebar clamps on here. So we run the anti-vibe inserts. We actually run these on pretty much all of our triple clamps. Big fan of them. You can actually tighten those bolts to a certain torque, and that'll actually change how your handlebars feel. And the cool thing about these clamps is they're actually adjustable forward and back, so you can move your bar either forward or back based on the location. So again, it's slightly offset. You can pick whether you want your bars to favor forward or favor back, and they are going to be a little bit taller than the stock bar setup. So these kind of act like a riser too. So if you're a taller rider or you just want your bike to feel a little bit bigger, that's honestly why a lot of guys put these kits on their bikes. So yeah, guys, more or less just put the bars back on just like OEM. Get all your connectors plugged back in. Really liking this TTR. Everything just feels high quality on it. It's a nice bike for sure. Right down to this key switch bracket, so I'm going to go ahead and reuse that. It just so happened to work with our handlebar clamps. I guess we got lucky there, but I do like the cleanliness of that, how it came on the bike, and it just fits it real nice. So you can see I'm just snugging everything back up. I'm going to end up moving the bars around again anyway after I sit on the bike and ride it, but just getting my connectors put back in. So right here we've got a fender bracket. And the Yamaha already has a crazy fender bracket on it, but I had to make this to lock into the OEM Yamaha bracket. And it actually fit pretty well on the bike. I was happy with it. All right, guys, front hub time. So we've got a recessed hole with a special bolt. Now, just take note, there is a little cutout on the top of that disc. That's for clearance. We've also got our wheel spacer. The short one goes on the brake side. Make sure and put a little bit of grease on that seal when you put the spacer in. And these bolts do come with Loctite on them already, so go ahead and just tighten them down. I like to seat them with an impact and then go back after with an Allen key and just hand torque them. And of course the long spacer goes on the opposite side. And I already put grease inside the seal. Just don't skip that step. You want to have a little bit of grease on there. Now this is an aftermarket wheel and it was powder coated. The holes were a little bit tight, so I went ahead and just drilled them out. And now it slides over the studs perfectly. Never pound it on there. You want to make sure the Make sure the hub slides right in. I'm going to leave the lug nuts loose right now, and I'll show you guys why in a few seconds. So instead of working hard, I'm going to bring the bike down to the tire so we're not picking it up. So start by putting your brake stay on. You can roll your wheel back. You can start putting your axle in, and I recommend a little bit of grease on that front axle. Now there is going to be a shim that goes in between the fork and the brake stay. So get that inserted, keep sliding your axle through, and install the washer with the locking nut that's provided. Now your caliper is not going to fit, so you gotta remember I left the lug nuts loose. We're going to slide the wheel over since the lug nuts are loose. Get the caliper on. Once it's installed, we're going to go ahead and just tighten up the lug nuts, and the wheel's going to slightly kick over. And you guys can see I'm just torquing everything up. And cool thing on this kit, I guess I should mention, we're converting this whole bike over to hydraulic brakes. We can't be messing around with drum brakes. I could have designed a hub around the drum brake, but it just seemed silly, so we just went ahead and did hydraulic brakes on this whole bike. So I like to get the brake line on the bottom. And we've got a nice little cable guide that's going to go back in the OEM location. Now you're going to get your master cylinder ready. But first, I like to cut these grommets off because we're not even going to use them. They come on the brake line. They're kind of ugly. They turn kind of like a yellowish color, so I just cut them off. So now I'm going to get the master cylinder ready, and to do that, I had to actually unhook the start button. We're going to relocate that to the other side anyway, so we'll cover that later in the video. So now we made some room for the master. We're going to get that bolted down. And now's a good time to get your throttle tightened back up. I like to actually make sure the throttle's not all the way against the end of the handlebar in case you fall. It's actually going to pinch that tube, so make sure you slide it back off about a 1/8 inch off the end of the bar. I'm going to go ahead and remove this little tab right here off the number plate. I like the cleaner look of getting rid of it, so I'm just showing you guys how I did that. So I just went back with a little torch to clean the edge up. You can hit it with sandpaper too if you don't have that. All right, so that pesky start button. We've got a nice little billet piece that gets bolted on here. I didn't like how I routed that, so I actually swapped it around. You'll see it in the next clip. Yep. I think I unplugged it. Yeah, that's what I did. I unplugged it, rerouted it. I'm actually reusing the OEM zip ties. They're reusable. Super nice setup. Yeah, comes together real nice, super clean. Now I got hydraulic brakes and the start button is handled. All right, so the front number plate bracket on the top, I'm just gonna show you guys how we put that together. One spacer, got the straight bracket. And this is to make everything work with our triple clamps and also allow for a little bit more tire clearance. So we kind of shifted around the location of that stuff. So it's going to slip into the OEM grommets on the bottom, and you just got two bolts on top. Can't get much simpler than that. And let's not forget the little rubber booty that goes on the master. I just wanted to show you guys the new tire size compared to OEM on the rear. That's going to be coming up in the next video. But man, this bike just looks killer. I'm like super excited to get this bike going. Now, you guys are going to be excited because we've got a billet rear swing arm coming for this bike. I'll insert a little preview for you, and we'll see you in the next video. So stay tuned for the follow-up video. We're going to get this bike finished up and take it for a test ride.